Each morning, real setups are broken down with entry strategies and technical reasoning behind every trade. This is today's best trade setups with Verified Investing.
Welcome to today's best trade setups. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. AMD had some really positive news. Meta is going to be investing in their chips over the next 5 years. So we've got a huge pop in the markets, or at least for AMD. So I do have some levels for resistance coming up. But the first one I'm going to go over is, ORCL. I was mentioning yesterday, 142.83 was a gap in the charts that I was eyeing. I actually did play this. I didn't end up getting out of this trade at the bid. You got about $1.20 to the upside on that bounce on ORCL. I was actually anticipating a little bit bigger of a bid. Ended up taking a profit as I was dollar cost averaging into this. It wasn't as big of a gain as I was anticipating. Oracle just stayed weaker than I thought it was going to. So for me, what I'm looking at is still this gap in the chart sitting at $136.48 if we can get another sell off. Again, I still love this as a long play for a swing trade. So I will get back into this at 136.48, knowing that I've got this double bottom at 135.25. So keep Oracle on your radar for a potential bounce. I actually like this so much. I actually might start playing this on a Pierce of $140 and just dollar cost averaging every dollar or so on the way down. This will be a smaller position, but I really love this for a swing trade. And so I don't mind hanging on to this a little bit longer. LITE is another stock that we've been monitoring. Again, this is a logarithmic chart on LITE. Pivot low here. Price action stayed on this low pivot or on this upswing trend line. Then it got below it, kissed it right here, hit it right here. So now we're actually facing, again, a retrace of this upswing trend line. So for me, I'm still eyeing the $700 Pierce. So I'll be waiting for $700.27. That would be my entry price on LITE. Knowing that a stock like this, as you can see, it can move quite substantially in one day, up about 15%. So that is an aggressive level. Knowing that I could dollar cost average, if it does end up going up 15 or so percent, that would be a move all the way up to $775. So we'll be a little bit cautious on this and prepare to dollar cost average all the way up to about $750. For me, that would be the absolute max upside today. I don't see it going up 15%. This is getting way overextended on the upside. And so I do think that eventually it's going to come down into $504.42. This is due for its pretty substantial rollover. The S&P 500 are trading, it's trading a little bit higher today in the pre-market. I'm still eyeing the $676.57 for a bounce. And then I might have my secondary level at $671.40. If it does close below that, on a daily closing basis, I would stop out. But these are really your two lines in the sand. Once it breaks this first support level, 676.57, it's going to come down to 671.40. And I would enter a couple different trades if we can get into this support level right here. The QQQ, one thing that I like about the QQQ chart for more potential downside is you notice this pivot top here. You got this low here. A lower high, lower low, lower high. We took out the lower low right here, and we're creating a lower high. This, for me, is indicating that the buyers are trying to push this up, but the sellers are still in control. So for me, I'm looking for a downside move to about 590.07 today. This is where I'd start picking this up for a long play, knowing that I've got additional support, this previous pivot top in the charts at $583.46. Once that breaks, though, you don't have a ton of support until you get down to this double bottom here around $560. So 583.46. If it closes below that on a daily closing basis, or on a 15-minute closing basis, rather, I would stop out of this trade on the QQQ and really anticipate a lot more downside. Nvidia is trying to push up above this upswing trend line. It's met with resistance a couple different times, tried to recapture it, but as you can see, every time it does, never confirms, gets back below, tried again, got up to this 193.61 level that I had mentioned yesterday. That was actually a pretty substantial sell-off on the chart of Nvidia. For me, this 193.61 level is no longer on the table. Once we can get a push above that, I think that price action is going to 199.05, and this is where I'm looking to enter a short trade for a day trade basis. if it closes above that on a 15-minute closing basis, I would not stop out. I would just dollar cost average every $2 higher, knowing that I've got this resistance level at $206.90, a gap in the charts for additional resistance. And so I don't mind DCAing into this position on the chart of Nvidia. I was mentioning also silver. Silver, once it got up to about $88.20, that should be a solid rejection level. It didn't get there until around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I did not take this trade, but then it had a pretty substantial pullback off of that level. So let's go ahead and jump into the chart of SLV. Right here was that resistance, $88.20. And then look at the pullback that it got. Now, it did get a little bit above that, tried to get back to the $90 level. But look at this. You got a nice 3% pullback off of that resistance level. So if you were ended up shorting that, you could have taken a decent profit. For me, $88.20 is off of the table. I'm looking at this high pivot point at $90.39 for, excuse me, for some resistance. So if SLV can get up all the way to about $82.60, this is where I'd likely pick up a short trade, knowing that I could stop out on a 15-minute closing basis above that level, then just enter it at a higher price. AMD, this thing, really positive news. Again, they've got a 5-year deal with Meta, and so that's why we're up significantly, up as much as 15% in the pre-market. If it gets back up to about $227, because of the pullback that it's already received, you should get a decent pullback off of that level. So this is what I'm eyeing, $227 for a potential reversal. Now, we're also eyeing this upswing trend line. So we've got this pivot low here, secondary hit here, third hit, nice bounce, broke below it, confirmed, and then we had a little bit more of a sell-off after we retraced to the scene of the crime. Now we're actually retesting this. This high pivot point right here at $226.98, that is where price action got to in the pre-market. And it's already fallen back down over $10. And so I would actually be looking to short that there, knowing that I've got additional resistance at $242.11. On a 15-minute closing basis, though, if it gets above $226.98, I would stop out of that. And then I'd look to reshort AMD at $242.11. PANW didn't get to my level quick enough in the pre-market or during the market action at $144.15. Palo Alto Networks is still staying relatively weak. So for me, I'm looking to pick this up at around $130.99. And I know that seems like a really big drop. It's about a 10% drop from where it's currently triggering or trading in the pre-market. But this is a gap in the charts that goes back to the lows of February 2024. And so that's going to be solid support. For me, those of you who are a little bit more aggressive, you could look at this 142 level, and then you've got this secondary, you've got this pivot low right here at about $137.87. And then this wide range green bar candle at 135. But for me, I'm eyeing 130.99, knowing that I've got that whole round number of 130 where you're likely to get a bounce. Micron is trading a little bit higher in the pre-market today. I'm still eyeing this $446.47 for a rejection. We still have to respect the fact that we're in an uptrend. So what I've done is connected this pivot low here from the 17th of December, 2025, secondary hit here. So for those of you who are aggressive, this would be a third hit of this upswing trend line right about the $400 level. That could get a decent bounce, knowing that you could always stop on a 15-minute closing basis if price action does close below this upswing trend line, and then look to re-enter it 373.25. But again, I'm eyeing 446.47 for a short level today, knowing I've got additional resistance at the double top at $455.50. KEYS, and I'm going to have to restore each and every one of these charts, so bear with me. It got as high as $288.27 in the post-market on the back of earnings, had some really positive earnings. So this is going to be a good potential shortable level for those of you who are more aggressive. For me, I'm looking at $299.16 for a reversal on the chart of KEYS. Next one I'm going to go over is Whirlpool, WHR. They actually are issuing additional shares and this is diluting stockholders' positions on this. I can't remember exactly how many shares, but they're issuing a lot of new shares to cover some debt. So for me, it's dropping in the pre-market down as much as 10%. I'm eyeing the $64 pivot low right here that goes back to March of 2020. This is the COVID lows. And this is a major pivot in the charts. Look at what happened when price action got a bid off of that $64 level. It went up as high as 297%. And now we're getting back into that level, down 75% from that high. Once price action gets to $64, you should see a pretty significant bounce, even though they are issuing shares, diluting stockholders' share prices. Last but not least is NVO. NVO, I'm still eyeing this chart. Look at this drop yesterday on Novo Nordisk. It had a decent drop in the post-market, had a decent bounce, and now we're getting rejected again. It's trading at $38.31. That first long level that I have is $37.91. For me, I'm going to stay away from it until it gets down to $37.10. There's still a lot of negative sentiment, but those of you who are a little bit more aggressive, $37.91 was that first entry price. But for me, $37.10 is a little bit less aggressive, and that's where I'd pick NVO up for not only a day trade, but that could be a potential swing trade as well. That's why I like it so much. Anyway, that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me this morning at 8:45, and I will be going live tomorrow morning as well. Drew Dosick, check him out on Friday. He's actually going to be covering my show for me, so you guys don't want to miss that. He's full of energy, and he's got some great levels as well. So Gareth Holloway is going to be going live in less than 4 minutes. You don't want to miss the information that he's going to go over with you guys. And with that said, please make sure you're liking, following, subscribing, and sharing with those friends so that way they can get the same market data that you're getting. And we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.